Welcome to Paranormal Palace Radio, where truth equals reality, and truth is often stranger than fiction.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Paranormal Palace Radio. This is your host, Royce the Redneck Radio Man. Pardon my little tongue tie right there. Joining me today is going to be Norio Hayakawa, and he's going to be a member of the Paranormal Summit in Sacramento, which is Anthony Sanchez's conference is coming up in June 16th and 17th. And Norio's presentation is going to take place on the 16th, and he's going to be talking about the fascinating origins of Dulce underground base. And there's more information about this on his website, www.noriohayakawa2012.blogspot.com, and I will be pasting that in the chat room so that it's easier for y'all to just copy and paste it in your address bar. And as well as that, if you scroll down under the chat room and the phone number for the call-in, you'll see his picture with the show description, and he'll have his link right under his picture there. For those of you that would like to call in and ask questions, the number's 832-632-7904. You can also PM me on Skype, and I can bring you into the conversation that way, or you can just ask the question in Skype or in my chat room. So without further ado, let's bring Norio in here with us, and let's have a little talk about him and what he's going to be doing. So, Norio, how you doing today?
Very good, Royce.
Well, that's good. Listen, I'm happy to have you back on my show again. I really enjoyed it the last time you were here, and we were talking about Dulce then. The only difference is I come to realize since the last time you've been on my show that you've actually had a book out called UFOs, The Grand Deception and the Coming New World Order. Is that book still in print?
Well, that was a 1993 thesis, or it was, about a 130-page thing that I wrote, and I think it's still available through Amazon or something like that, but, that was way before, so... That was actually my first writing, I guess. But since then, of course, in 1993, I created this video called Secrets of Dreamland, which has become almost like the text thing for conspiracies and UFOs and Area 51. So, a lot of the things that I said in that video, Secrets of Dreamland in 1993, are still applicable even to this day. And actually, my whole theme of that video, Secrets of Dreamland, as well as my central theme of this book called The UFOs, The Grand Deception and the Coming New World Order, the central theme of those were that the government will have enough technologies in the future to even create a fake scenario involving new technologies and to create some kind of a fake extraterrestrial event to create a panic in order to consolidate a global type of a governance or new world order. So that theme was the central theme beginning in 1993 as far as I'm concerned. I still hold on to that theory that could be one of the scenarios in the future. But in the meantime, I've also investigated, interesting topics such as Area 51 and Dulce, New Mexico. And now that I live in New Mexico, I'm very, much closer to the happenings at Dulce.
I was not aware you'd moved to Mexico, but I imagine that puts you pretty close to Dennis Balthaser, doesn't it?
Well, actually, Dennis Balthaser lives in Roswell, and I live in right next to Albuquerque, which is about 5 hours drive from Roswell. And where I live is only about 2.5 hours drive to Dulce, New Mexico.
I got you. I'm not real good geographically, but I get where you're coming from. So you're going to go at the summit here. You're going to say, so to speak, turn back the hands of time to where the origins of the Dulce underground base theory started. And roughly how long ago was that when it first got started?
Well, actually, the rumors about the Dulce base actually started in 1979. However, the initial beginnings of the so-called speculations probably started in the mid-70s with the beginnings of the mysterious cattle mutilations that have started to occur in southern Colorado and northern New Mexico, especially in the Dulce area. So that was around 1975. But even further earlier than that, the first suspicion that something was going on may even have started in 1967 in December, when the United States government exploded an atomic device underground just about 22 miles southwest of Dulce in 1967, whereby some people began to speculate that maybe the government was trying to create some kind of a additional cavity underground in that area. So that may have been the initial rumblings of the, rumors about the Dulce base. But further than that, if you want to go earlier, then you have to look at the events that took place in the Dulce area in 1948. Because in 1948, lots of residents of Dulce had seen some kind of a space aerial craft moving towards Aztec, which was about an hour away from Dulce. And then, of course, half an hour from Aztec is the town of Farmington, whereby 2 years later, in 1950, an amazing series of mass UFO sightings took place. So these could all be the contributing factor to the beginnings of the underground alien base in Dulce area. This is the beginning.
That is really very interesting, given the fact that I was just started reading last night Nick Redfern's new book, Pyramids in the Pentagon. And in that very first couple chapters there, he actually talks about the UFO sightings in 1947 in Roswell and Kenneth Arnold's sighting. And he tells me, I talked to Stanton Freeman, and he was telling me something about an Aztec incident, which I think was also in 1947. And I'm beginning to wonder if Roswell, Area 51, and Dulce are all linked into one big event going on, like, for example.
Well, you're absolutely correct. The rumors about the Dulce base actually came out in a wider range of circles around the same time. That is, around 1987. In 1987, actually, John Lear had written a hypothesis about the Dulce base and Area 51, and that really, really helped in spreading this speculation that there's something going on both at Area 51 as well as Dulce, New Mexico. In fact, I was giving that hypothesis in 1987. He sent me this 10-page hypothesis, and that was 1987. So In 1987, that was when I first heard about the Dulce base, or alleged Dulce base. That was in 1987. And the strange thing also, Royce, is that around 1987, people like Bill Moore or William Moore started talking about, Dulce base and misinformation and disinformation campaign. It was Bill Moore who actually, in 1980, co-authored a book called Incident at Roswell. That was in 1980. Until 1980, most people had never talked about Roswell because it was long forgotten after 1947. There's a few researchers that kept on investigating the Roswell incident, people like Stanton Friedman, but the public at large had forgotten about Roswell until this book came out in 1980, and this was written by, as I mentioned, Charles Berlitz and William Moore. And without this book, most people never talk about Roswell. So this was very significant that it was William Moore himself who was involved in, dissemination of the Dulce-based theory and, of course, Area 51 at the same time. So it's a very complicated history, but it's a fascinating history because a lot of things have been intertwined in those years, beginning in 1980, going to 1987, when this Dulce-based theory became, began to be spread out among many researchers.
Well, does there appear to be anything to the Dulce-based stories?
Well, yes, the Dulce-based story is a very fascinating story because it is the epitome of America's UFO subculture, what I call the UFO subculture in America. There are many, many topics, popular, for example, about UFO. But you can't get any better than the Dulce-based theory because it involves everything. It involves the underground-based theory. It involves the UFOs. It involves U.S. alien collaboration theory. It also involves the New World Order. It also involves the genetic experiments. It's the ultimate conspiracy theory. That's what I call the Dulce-based theory because you can't get any better than this. And the fact that it is still ongoing, in other words, we're not talking about old things like Roswell incident, which took place in 1947, but the Dulce-based theory goes on and on, even today, because people still report some strange objects allegedly flying over Dulce many times, even now. And the same thing with cattle mutilations. These interesting things happen even today. So, Dulce is a vibrant topic. So it makes a perfect theme of the ufology or subculture of UFOs and conspiracy theories. So I'm really interested in the Dulce situation, and I keep investigating because I have a lot of friends in Dulce, and fortunately, a lot of people are coming out telling, about what's happening in Dulce. Many of the Hickory Apache Indian tribal members are no longer afraid to share their experience, especially so because after 2009, when the first Dulce-based conference was held in Dulce, it seems that more and more Hickory Apache people are coming out and sharing their sightings and stories.
Well, you know, about roughly a year and a half ago, I had a young woman or an older woman, well, a woman named Joanne Richards on, and she claimed that her husband is still in jail to this day, that was formerly with the military, a high-ranking officer with a high clearance, top-secret clearance, and supposedly he was working at Dulce and knew some information about it, and he was supposedly confirming the, human extraterrestrial firefight that went on there. Have you heard anything about that?
Well, yes, this is a very famous story, and it's about the alleged confrontation that took place in 1979, allegedly under the Archuleta Mesa, where the Dulce base is allegedly there. Now, this story was popularized by Phil Schneider, who claimed to have worked at the underground construction of Dulce base. And Phil Schneider claimed that in 1979, 66 U.S. Military personnel were killed in this confrontation between the Delta forces and unknown alien entities underground inside the Dulce base. But Phil Schneider came out with this story in 1995, but if you go back to 1989, Bob Lazar already talked about it in his interview in 1989. He did mention that he saw a report while he was allegedly working at S4 in Nevada, south of Area 51. He said he was shown documents that some kind of a military confrontation took place between the U.S. Military and unknown entities or extraterrestrial entities. But he did not mention whether that incident took place at Groom Lake or Area 51 or S4 or Dulce, New Mexico. He didn't specify. So this is very interesting, Royce, that a lot of people, are not aware of the fact that it was Bob Lazar who already in 1989 mentioned this confrontation. So it's very interesting. And, of course, John Lear, he also mentioned this, because in 1989, yes. So a lot of things are connected.
So we have no way to know if the fireplace actually took place or if they were misled into thinking it took place or anything else for that matter. But we do know that more than one person claims that it's happened. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's several people claim to have knowledge of the confrontation. And I was just in Dulce about a few months ago, and there's a family in Dulce who knows of some residents who moved out of Dulce a few years ago, who told this family that there was some kind of an evacuation in Dulce around 1979, at least in the northern part of Dulce, that there was some kind of partial evacuation for no reason. So I'm still trying to locate these former residents who could verify that there was some kind of emergency incident in 1979 in Dulce.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm not 100% sure what's going on at Dulce, but I know I've heard quite a bit from different sources myself. It seems to me like with that much smoke, there's got to be a bit of a fire somewhere.
That's exactly my position, Royce. Even though there's no single tangible, physical, irrefutable documentary evidence whatsoever that there's a physical underground base in Dulce, there are too many circumstantial evidences that seem to point out that indeed there is something there. There has to be something there with these, so many reports of sightings of UFOs, sightings of military helicopters, all these things, including even the ongoing reported sightings of Bigfoot in that area, as well as many other paranormal events reported by the residents over there themselves. These all seem to point out that indeed there's something there, as exactly as you said. That's why I'm so interested in Dulce, because it's something unlike Roswell, where you don't see anything except a museum now. Unlike Roswell, Dulce is alive with ongoing reports. And so I keep investigating the Dulce scenario. And in fact, about a month ago, I organized the caravan from Albuquerque to Dulce to the people, so that people would actually be able to see for themselves what kind of place Dulce is. So I organized this mini tour. It was free, and I organized this caravan, and the former director of public safety of Dulce, Hoyt Velarde, participated also. And we took them to the ground zero of the 1967 underground explosion near Dulce.
So people are allowed down there now?
Oh, yes, that's right. In fact, anybody can go to the exact location where the government exploded the atomic device in 1967. The only problem is that many people, or most people, don't know how to get there, because you have to take this dirt road and Hikaria Atachi Road, and it's very confusing. So very few people have actually gone to ground zero. And if you go to ground zero today, you can see a government plaque that states that in December 10th, 1967, the Atomic Energy Commission exploded this device to conduct an experiment.
Of course, it doesn't say what kind of experiment, does it?
Well, the government says that it has something to do with the softening of the, rocks underground to ease the flow of natural gas, but that could have been an excuse, because there has been radiation leaks going on since 1975, and this is the reason why that whole area of Dulce, even today, seems to have a lot of cases of, cancers in, and other diseases. And of course, in 1975, it's my feeling that the government realized that the radiation was leaking in that area, and that they decided to monitor some animals as well, including some cattle in that area.
Well, I got to tell you, I have a lot of trouble trying to figure out why government would want to experiment about softening rocks in that one particular area when the whole planet is just scattered with rocks they could experiment with.
Exactly, and why did they choose that area, the Dulce area? So this is a big mystery, and, this is all related. Stanton Friedman said that New Mexico was definitely a very important, continues to be a very important state insofar as UFOs are concerned, because this was the first state where the modern day, the nuclear age started in New Mexico, 1945. And so this would be the ideal initial place for any kind of contact from non-terrestrial intelligences, or let's say aliens, for example.
Right.
It would be an ideal place for them to first contact us. So this is why New Mexico has lots of fascinating locations of interest. In fact, in 1945, after the war, there was an alleged crash of a disc-shaped object in San Antonio, which is a small community in New Mexico near Socorro. In 1945, I think it was in September or something, residents had witnessed a crash of a strange object outside of San Antonio, New Mexico. That was 1945. Then, of course, 2 years later, this Roswell crash did occur north of Roswell, but also in another place, on southwest New Mexico. There's a place called the Plains of San Agustin. And in 1947, another object crashed there. Then in 1948, an object reportedly crashed outside of Aztec. And then, of course, in 1950, a humongous, actually a mass sighting of flying saucers was witnessed in Farmington for 3 days in 1950. So the entire state of New Mexico seemed to have amazing sightings history of UFOs. And remember, Royce, another thing that is very, very significant is that the German technicians and engineers were the first to come to New Mexico after World War II in this thing called Operation Paperclip. There were many German scientists who came to New Mexico to, Kirtland Army Air Base. They were stationed there after they were transported from Ohio, from Wright-Patterson Army Air Base in 1945. They came to Albuquerque, and they were stationed here and in Albuquerque, and many of them were transferred to White Sands. And many of them were transferred to Los Alamos National Laboratories in the north.
These are the same Germans now that were interested in the space program and building UFOs for Hitler. Is that correct?
Exactly. That is exactly correct. And this is why there is definitely some connection between the German technologies and the UFO sightings in New Mexico. Perhaps there is an interrelation. If you go to Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico today, you can tell that the Holloman Air Force Base have a very good, has always had a good relationship with the German Luftwaffe, the Air Force. And they have many exchange programs even today. So the German presence in New Mexico is very, very significant. The German bioengineers were, working in Los Alamos, because they, I believe, had some kind of a knowledge of biogenetics. And this is the reason why Los Alamos National Laboratory today, I think, has one of the most leading edge, technology and research on DNA and biogenetics. And very interesting that Los Alamos is only about 65 miles away from Dulce. And so anything is possible, So we're talking about the German technology and the German, prototype technologies, but we're also talking about a possible non-human technology, working along with it. So it's a very, very, very complex situation. And as I said, there's no physical evidence, for the extraterrestrial.
At least none that we've been able to get our hands on.
Yeah, but, speculation is very interesting, and so this is why I continue to investigate all of this. everybody has heard about the Paul Benoit story, and without the Paul Benoit story, there's no Dulce underground base. That is a very interesting thing as well. And Paul Benoit had his company called Thunder Scientific Corporation right next to the Kirtland Air Force Base. So, Paul Benoit, he also was the first person to claim that there's a base in northern New Mexico. That was also in 1979. So, everything seems to be connected. See, so in Sacramento, in this Paranormal Summit on June 16th, I'll be basically talking about the origins of the Dulce base theory, including the people like Paul Benoit and the people like Myrna Hansen. Now, Myrna Hansen was a lady who claimed that she was abducted along with her son near a small town of Cimarron in northeastern New Mexico, and was taken to an underground facility in northern New Mexico. And that was in 1979, and that was the same year when Paul Benoit began to talk about the underground base. And actually, Paul Benoit met with Myrna Hansen, and together with Leo Sprinkle, a hypnotist and a professor, they came to the conclusion that Myrna Hansen was taken to a Dulce base. So I'll be talking about all of this, but earlier, Royce, you mentioned Branton. Now, Branton is the first person who compiled lots of information on Dulce and put it into a book called the Dulce Book. And his role is very significant because the Dulce Book became a popular classic when, Dulce, if you're talking about Dulce, you have to read Branton's book, the Dulce Book, and also the Dulce Wars. Now, Branton did a lot of research, but he got most of the information from key personalities such as Tal Levesque. Tal Levesque is a very enigmatic personality. He actually claimed that he knew Thomas E. Costello, who claimed to have worked as a security guard at Dulce Base.
I've heard of him. Wasn't there some doubt that of his story because they say he just disappeared?
Right. He actually disappeared. Well, actually, that's what they say. But there's only one alleged photo of Thomas Costello. But you have to actually talk also about this strange lady called Ann West. Now, Ann West also claims to have met Thomas Costello in the early 80s. And both Tal Levesque and Ann West claim to have known Thomas Costello, and John Lear picked it up in 1987. And so a lot of information that John Lear had came from Tal Levesque and Ann West. And, this is very important. But I don't know what to say, but, this lady by the name of Ann West today goes by the name of Cherry Hinkle. And Cherry Hinkle is reportedly the Ann West who drew the drawings of the vats of Dulce, the vats where there's human parts floating in some kind of a liquid, and she drew all of these drawings allegedly, and John Lear picked it up and became part of John Lear's hypothesis. But all of this is closely tied in with Paul Benowitz, it takes a lot of time to explain the role of Paul Benowitz. But today, Paul Benowitz's company called Thunder Scientific Corporation is run by his son. And the son doesn't want to talk about his father, who was institutionalized in early 2000 and died in a hospital. And according to some researchers, Paul Benowitz was a victim of the mind control disinformation tactic that was started by William Moore and Richard Doty, who was an OSI agent in Kirtland Air Force Base at that time. But you never know, see, because perhaps Paul Benowitz knew more than most people think. And maybe it was a slow leak about the Dulce base, but it's very fascinating. This whole field of UFOs is very fascinating because you hear a story or a claim by a person, and later on that person is, treated like a nut or some kind of
freak.
Yes, that's right. Just like Bob Lazar. Let's take the example of Bob Lazar. He was described later on as,
a charlatan and a hoax, and I heard all about that.
That's, I think, is a very interesting phenomenon that seems to happen. See, because the laughter curtain is a strong tactic of any group that wants to hide the facts by creating some kind of a laughter curtain. And so, yes. But both Area 51 and Dulce are connected. And in fact, symbolically they are connected. But also physically, they could be connected according to information provided by people like Tal Levesque, who originally came out with this very interesting map of underground connections in the southwest United States. He created this map in 1979 also, and it has Dulce as the hub of underground tunnels connecting Dulce with Edwards Air Force Base in California, and also Area 51 in Nevada, and also Denver in Colorado, NORAD, and Los Alamos. This is the famous underground base map, or tunnel connection maps. This was created by Tal Levesque initially. So these are all fascinating concepts, and you begin to wonder sometimes if this is a brilliant brainwashing, mind control, disinformation tactic by the government to promote this alien underground base theory, or whether it could be true, partially. So that's why I continue to investigate this thing, because it's very fascinating,
Right.
And it can't get any better than the Dulce base theory, because as I told you in the beginning, it includes everything. It includes aliens, UFOs, mind control, the paranormal, and we still don't know.
And the beauty of it, it's all current and active information today.
That's right. And we still don't know, so that's what it makes it interesting. Anything is possible. Anything is possible, because we haven't actually come up with a definition of what reality is.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask you also, Are there any areas that Dulce base that are off limits to the public?
Well, actually, here's the thing about the Dulce area. Now, technically, one cannot climb the Archuleta Mesa, which is located right next to Dulce and which is separated by the Navajo River. The Navajo River runs next to the baseline of the Archuleta Mesa. And in order to climb the Archuleta Mesa, technically you have to have a permission from the Jicarilla Apache tribe that you're going to climb that mesa, which itself is a very rough thing because the Archuleta Mesa is a very huge mesa, and you could easily get lost in there. And it takes, 3 or 4 hours to climb that mesa. And so it's not an easy thing. Plus, technically, you are intruding into the Jicarilla Apache nation. And so if you go with a Jicarilla Apache member, it's much better. Plus, if you get a permit from the Jicarilla Apache tribe, they will get you permission to climb up the mesa, but which Anthony Sanchez did last October. He had a very close family over there, the Collado family, and the Collado family believes that there's a base there as well. So Anthony Sanchez, through the Collado family, had obtained a permission to climb go to the Archuleta Peak where you can see the radio communication towers. So he was there last October, and he did it officially, he got the permit. So other people who have tried to get to the Archuleta Mesa have, was not too successful because even people like Jesse Ventura, who tried to get to the Archuleta Mesa, was refused to, be given a permit probably because of maybe
his TV show.
Yeah, or maybe it was because of the attitude or something. But you have to have a good relationship with the Jicarilla Apache tribe.
And Anthony's got a good relationship with them?
I think so, he does. And actually, I also have a lot of people that I know, prominent families in Dulce. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't try to capitalize on Dulce and, make money out of it. And this is the reason why many of the Jicarilla Apache people have this fear that outsiders are coming in and making money out of the belief that there's a base in Dulce by writing books and creating videos and so on. So this, I can understand their concern and their distrust. But on the other hand, there are people in the Dulce, which is a town of about 2,600 right now. There are people in Dulce that welcome the outside people, and because maybe that could be a boon to people spending money in Dulce. But on the other hand, there are some people in Dulce who are totally opposed to opening up Dulce for outsiders and, creating some kind of tourism there.
Well, you're like the wrong kind of people.
That's right. It's a very, very touchy situation. But one thing is for sure, Royce, is that even law enforcement officials there, many of them are convinced that there's something in the Archuleta Mountain in there, and that there's a difference between the Archuleta Mountain and Archuleta Mesa, by the way, Royce. A lot of people think that everything is under Archuleta Mesa, but actually, technically, that is not a good description because there is a mountain called Archuleta Mountain on the Archuleta Mesa. Archuleta Mesa is about 5 to 6 miles wide.
Wow.
Yes, that's right. That's why I told you in the beginning that, before that it's very hard to get into the Mesa because you can get easily lost. But according to a rancher over there, the Gomez family, they believe that the base is not directly under the Archuleta Peak, but it could be under Archuleta Mountain, which is slightly northwest of Dulce, but it's still on the Mesa itself. But you cannot see the Archuleta Mesa or the mountain because it's it's on the Mesa, and you can't see it unless you go on the Mesa. Then you can see the mountain.
Okay, well that makes a lot of sense. Well, listen, in regards to the Paranormal Summit, I'm looking at the banner that Anthony sent me. I can see that Carrie Cassidy's going to be there, and she's a part of Project Camelot, has been since its inception, as far as I know. Jay Wiedner's going to be there. He's a fantastic guy. He's got some real good spiritual books out there, and he's done some work with Kubrick's, what was it, Odyssey, 2001. I'm not real sure. I don't have that in front of me, and I don't want to misquote it, but I'm in the right area. As you know, Norio, who's speaking to me today, is going to be there, and he's going to be talking about some of the same stuff that we've covered today, except in like greater detail, since he's going to have more time to do it in. And Scotty Roberts is going to be there, and he's going to be talking about the rise and fall of the Nephilim and, giants in the earth and things of that nature. Anthony Sanchez is going to be there, and I'm pretty sure he's going to most likely cover a lot of material about Dulce from his own personal research. David Weatherly's going to be there, who I have not yet met and I'm not real familiar with, so I don't want to go into detail about him at this point. Micah Hanks is going to be there. He's a good friend of mine. He's the host of the paranormal show Gralien Report, an author of Molecule, Mysticism, and Magic, and I probably got that title mixed up a little bit, so don't quote me on that. I don't have his book right in front of me, but it's a fantastic book. I've read it myself. Mel Fabragas is going to be there. Ed Grimsley's going to be there. Jeffrey Gonzalez, Lyle Blackburn, Michelle Maney, and Ike Bishop. Is a huge crowd of knowledgeable people. They got a lot of information to share. And the last I heard from Anthony, I'm going to be attending this myself via Skype to ask questions of some of the speakers there, unless something changes. So, if it changes, I'll let you know. In the meantime, if people want me to ask certain questions, go ahead and send them in to me, and I'll be sure to ask the people, during the deal. And if it falls through, then I can try to schedule these people after the date. Is there any other material you're going to try to cover, Norio?
Well, that's my basic, the theme of the conference is the origins of the Dulce Bay theory, and which is a very fascinating thing, as I mentioned. By the way, Anthony Sanchez first contacted me in 2010. 2010, in the beginning of the year. Actually, I think it was in the spring of 2010. Anthony Sanchez first contacted me and brought up his interview with the mysterious colonel who is living in California. And that's the Anthony Sanchez famous interview, a 3-hour interview with this colonel who has confirmed to him that the Dulce Bay story is real. So, ever since 2010, Anthony Sanchez, and I got together, and so I think, I don't believe it was a coincidence. He chose me to relay the story of this colonel regarding Dulce, and so I'm very privileged to be considered a colleague of Anthony Sanchez, and I believe that Anthony Sanchez is very knowledgeable. He's a prolific. He has a prolific knowledge of things, and I believe that his book UFO Highway is a very, very refreshing new interpretation of everything about the origins of the alien presence and the connection to Dulce. It's a very fascinating book, and I wrote the foreword to his book. He asked me to write the foreword, and I did write the foreword. And in the foreword, I clearly stated that whether the information is true or not, this is definitely a fascinating a book, and it should be read by many people. And so that's why I support the work of Anthony Sanchez, regardless of whether every item he claims can be verified or not. That's not the point. The point is that this idea of the Dulce base is a very important concept. And so that's my position. And besides that, Anthony Sanchez is a very, very likable fellow. He is. Very likable fellow, and that's why I think he's very popular, He's very friendly, but when he speaks, he is so prolific that he comes up with so many things that most people have never heard of. And besides that, he's a computer specialist in software, and he used to work for the Intel and in many other software companies. So he has a prolific knowledge of everything, and so we are very thankful for Anthony for creating this Paranormal Summit event on June 16th and 17th. I think this could be one of the most interesting conferences ever.
Yeah, it very well could be. It sounds pretty good to me, to be honest with you. I love the lineup that's going to be there. And I'm still hoping I'm going to be able to attend this year unless something comes up. Pardon me, I got a little frog in my throat there. But at any rate, I showed that we got like 8 minutes remaining, and I was going to ask you if there's anything you'd like to add into this that I haven't thought to ask you about.
Well, actually, I basically described my position on things, and I keep telling people that there's no such a thing as coincidences in our lives. That's my theme, and that ultimately we still don't know what reality is. This is the reason why I have never been a debunker of UFO phenomena. Even though I state that there's not a single hard physical evidence of things, I still believe that physical evidence is not necessarily the only evidence that we should think about. And so I'm very open that there is such thing as a phenomenon that we still do not know much about, and that includes the paranormal phenomena. So this is the reason why I like this title that Anthony created, the Paranormal Summit, because, in this world, there's more things that are unexplainable and we cannot see with our physical eyes, but we believe that it's there. And so that's why I continue to be interested in this subject matter from all aspects of, all angles, yes.
Yeah, I would say you're interested. You're interested enough to do all this here work. You've been investigating this for how many years now? 10, 15?
Oh, I think 54 years already.
Whoa, that's a lot longer than what I was saying.
I started in actually 1961. I started investigating 1961. So,
my goodness, I was only 2 years old when you started.
So I have seen a lot of things. I have interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people. I have interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people who claim to have been abducted. I have visited a lot of locations of interest. So, I have a cumulative information that stretches all the way from 1961 up to the present. So I can tell that I know what I'm talking about when I talk about the UFO phenomenon. It's still a mystery to me, and I'm the first person to admit that even though I have investigated this thing for so many years, I still am as ignorant as any person that talks about this.
Well, I think we all are in that one, since none of them's landed on the White House lawn and abducted the president in front of a camera yet or anything. But listen, I know you got things you needed to do, and I'm going to get the weekend rolling on my end. I want to thank you for coming on the show, Norio. You've been a great guest once again, and I really hope to have you back again in the future.
Yes, definitely, Royce. I sure appreciate your work. And I thank you so much for inviting me, and people can befriend me on Facebook also. So let's keep in touch, and hopefully we'll talk to you during the summit in Sacramento.
Well, I'm certainly planning to. I don't see anything happening that's going to change it, but you know how what they say, Lord willing, creek don't rise. So.
Okay, God bless you, Royce.
You too now. Thank you for coming. You have a nice weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, everybody, before we call the show quits real quick, let me remind y'all that I'm having, about 3 to 4 shows next week. Kind of got backlogged on everybody there. So y'all know that, it's not just a regular Tuesday night show. I'm going to have Robert Taylor Monday, June the 4th at 8 p.m. Then Tuesday, my regular show, June the 5th, I'm going to have Gordon Johnny Noto. And then Wednesday, June the 6th, I'm going to have Tommy Hawksblood. So it's going to be 3 shows next week, plus Saturday's show, which is going to be Michelle Manning, who's part of the summit. I'd love to see everybody there. Please feel free to invite a friend, and don't forget, we got World UFO Day coming up July 2nd. I got a banner right here in my right-hand upper corner, right across from the player. If y'all want to click on there and learn more about that. And if you scroll down on my website and look on the left side where it says menu, down that menu and other towards the bottom of that first block, the first link you'll see is Friends. And if you click on the Friends link, I got some friends over there, some links to their site I thought you might want to check out. One of them is the Alien UFO Community. It's a Ning social network. And these banners are linked to the site. And there's Supernatural UFO, which is a forum. And there's United Paranormal International, which is another one of the Ning networks. Also, I've got some friends with their own radio shows. We got Gary Brown with UKPN Radio, and that's under Radio Favorites under the advertising link. Jim Harold, the best of paranormal audio and video on demand. The Gralien Report with Micah Hanks, and Ohio Exopolitics Radio with Mark Hamill. Feel free to check those shows out. I think you'll enjoy them, and maybe want to attend them more often. In the meantime, I'm going to call this one quits and get on with the rest of my weekend. I want to thank you guys for coming. I couldn't have a show without you. And looking forward to seeing y'all again. Please make sure you share my link with other people and invite them to the show. They might enjoy it every bit as much as you do. And thank you very much. Y'all have a good day.